All right, so Nate Diaz.
Dustin Poirier out of his match with Nate Diaz, undisclosed injury. Nate Diaz ends up, I guess, sort of half mocking Khabib by saying, what was his tweet actually? Do you remember what the tweet was? Or Harrington, do you have it? He said it was somebody.
I don't have it. But this is what I was going to say a second ago, though. I mean, the options for Khabib now, they're endless. I mean, of course, you said he's asking for record-breaking money, pardon me, to fight Conor a second time, and rightly so. I mean, that was the biggest pay-per-view of all time, we're hearing now, which is what the UFC pegged it as, and apparently the numbers back that up. And with him being the champion, with him being 2.4, apparently, and with them beating McGregor so handily, it'd be like, how on earth are you going to let McGregor get paid more money than me? So you can understand it from his perspective. Of course, there's Nate Diaz fight. Nate Diaz fight would probably be almost as big because, Nate has a big following and, talks a lot of shit, and he would sell the fight like crazy. He's got endless opportunities. So it's interesting. We'll see what happens. Stay tuned. Keep an eye on it. We'll be sure to mock the entire situation as it moves forward. But Nate Diaz versus Dustin Poirier is off. What was all that about, Harrington?
Well, it looks like Dustin Poirier, like Lewis said, got an undisclosed injury. Nate Diaz was not interested in finding a replacement and said that he would rather just wait for Khabib.
I know you're a huge Nate Diaz fan, okay? Nate Diaz is a great fighter to watch. Brings a lot of excitement. He's got an enigmatic personality. There's something very captivating about both Diaz brothers. They command your attention. As I said, they're captivating. They are. When they talk, when they do interviews, when they fight, they're great. But what the hell is Nate Diaz doing with his career? He had that one big fight with Conor. Prior to that, I don't know. I'm gonna pluck a figure out of fresh air, but I guarantee I'm not too far away. I would say maybe Harrington can look this up as I'm talking. His last fight, his fight before the Conor McGregor fight, the first one against Michael Johnson, I would say he probably got like 26 and 26 or 40 and 40, somewhere in that realm. And then he went and made millions with Conor.
I don't want to interrupt you because I can almost, it relates to what you're saying. Didn't Nate have some sort of deal where he took a huge signing bonus and then took like kind of a shit deal per fight? That was like a story that came out a few years ago where it looked like he was making like kind of crappy money per fight, but it was only because he signed on with a much bigger initial bonus.
Well, I don't actually know that, but I don't. I can't speak to any knowledge of that, but even still, his purses weren't for a lot of money. Okay.
Yeah, so he took a bonus on the front end. It's undisclosed, but it was a sizable amount, and he was a 2020 fighter. So he got 40K. He got 40K with the 20K win bonus.
And listen, any way you want to slice that, Lewis, you've had that money. You've been paid that. You've had your signing bonus. Sometimes you get signing bonuses when you sign a new contract with the UFC. Any way you slice it, to go through that training camp, he's still getting paid 20 and 20 to train for the fight and fight for the fight. He got his bonus for staying with the UFC, maybe not going to Bellator, shopping around, but his fight purses were 20 and 20. So he wasn't making great money. And then he had those big fights with Conor, obviously, made him a wealthy man, made millions of dollars. And since then, he hasn't been back in the octagon. And I mean this with respect because I enjoy watching him fight. And I find him captivating, but it's like, dude, what are you playing at? You were in the maybe not main event, but you were fighting Madison Square Garden, Dustin Poirier. Now he gets injured and he's like, fuck that, see you later. Went on the walkabout again.
And also don't be the I'm going to take my ball home and go home guy. Don't be the guy who says, well, you know what? I'm not going to play the game anymore. You're like, dude, come on. We're fans of yours. We want to see you fight. What you're doing is, on a selfish level, it's his own career, it's his own body. If he doesn't want to fight, he doesn't want to fight. Sure, he's letting his best years waste away, all the opportunity to make sort of wasting away by prolonging it, and not getting those crazy wins and not sort of building. I think whoever his manager is. I don't want to shit on his manager, but I think he's just not. Even same thing with Nick. There's not really handling how great they are the way they should, in my opinion. Okay. But from a fan perspective, it's like, dude, you're letting your fans down because you're just saying the thing you do, you're refusing to do. You're dangling like a carrot in front of everybody. to a point where I'm such a huge Diaz brother fan that I'm even like, all right, dude, I don't fucking care, dude. Go then. Go smoke weed and go do nunchucks on fucking Instagram. I'll go become a fan of somebody else because there's other dudes who are saying, fuck it, dude, put anybody in front of me. I'm ready to go. And that's what you want to hear. You know, it's crazy.
It really is. Now, this gangster attitude and all the rest of it is like, fuck that, blah, 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 blah. I do what I want, when I want, and all that. All right, okay, that's good. But ultimately, he's only hurting himself. You know, we have a short career as fighters. Some have longer than others, you know, but generally it's not the longest career. Diaz has been around for a while. I was around for a while. You know, a lot of people can have a decent career, but still, as a segment of your life, it's pretty small. Now, he hasn't fought in, 2.5 years? Something like that. He's 33 years old. Sorry, I just looked it up. He's 33 years old. So he's still a relatively young man. But for the lightweight division, 33, you know, he's no spring chicken. Let's put it like that. He's not 23. He's 33. So he's got a few more years left. You know, he's a single man. He made some big money from the McGregor fight. He's probably, you know, no doubt he does plenty of appearances and things like that. So, you know, I'm sure he's doing very well. But, you know, he's only hurting himself, in my opinion. Maybe if he had a wife and kids, he might feel a bit different because you want to stack as many chips as you can to think about your retirement and think about your children and your children's future. That was always my mindset, you know. And maybe I could have learned a little from the Diaz type of attitude. I'm not saying I could have learned from Nate Diaz, but that kind of, and even the Conor McGregors of the world as well. Maybe I could have been a bit more fuck you, pay me type of way, which I kind of was to a little bit, but I wasn't rude with it. But I was always like, well, let's just get as many fights. Fight. Let's go. Stack those fucking chips. Get the money in the bank. I want to leave money to my children when I'm dead and buried, that they live a good life. You know, hopefully, you know, there's enough that they can live comfortably.
You seem to understand your value, and you know, it's not my business to disclose, you know, what goes on behind closed doors, but I personally experienced you turning down fights because it wasn't the right deal. It wasn't the right. You publicly, you know, talked about it too. But you know, there was times where, you know, you were considering doing things, and you're like, hey, you know what, dude, that's just not worth it. I'm not going to go and put my you know, body and health on the line and put my training camp if it's not the right deal. And you know, you have to sort of. There's a way to do it. I think you have to. Part of understanding your self-worth, though, is, you know, I almost feel like it's not that Nate doesn't understand his self-worth. He's just he's depreciating in value by not fighting and building on that self-worth. You know what I'm saying? Like in my opinion,
I don't want to say this because it's probably going to generate the headline that all the little clickbaiters want, but he probably has an elevated feeling of self-worth, you know? And his stock is high. His stock is high. But unfortunately, it's not Khabib Conor high, you know? And I think that pisses him off. You know, ego is a bitch. And I've let my ego get the better of me many times. So I'm far from the perfect human being, far from it. I make mistakes all the time. I try and learn from them and not make the same ones, though. Prime example with Nate, when the press conference, when they announced the Conor fight, boom, he bailed and he walked outside and he's like, fuck this, you know, and he felt disrespected, you know. So I don't want to turn this into a whole fucking trying to shit on Nate Diaz because that's not what I'm trying to do here. But as a fan, it's a little frustrating.
Yeah, it really is. And I think you're 100% right there. I think that, you know, in his mind, he's like I need $10-20 million to fight every single time. Whereas, I don't know. I think he needs to just start beating everybody. Whatever happened to that? What's going on with the UFC where it's just not about beating all the guys that are put in front of you and just being the best? Those are sort of the guys that I always like. And holding out for contract negotiations and angling for this fight and only fighting this guy, it's not what the sport was built off of. And I've said this a million times on the show, but you know, UFC 1, you didn't know who you were going to fight. You had 3 guys in one night. The weight classes didn't matter. It was much more fuck you, fight me. I don't give a shit. It wasn't for anything. What was the payout for UFC 1? What was the prize money? It was $100,000. I don't even think it was that much.
I have no idea, but you're right. I mean, and more of that attitude would be refreshing, but also it is a different time and the sport is a different beast altogether.
It's just the roots.
Yeah. At first it was a spectacle. Hold on 1 second. Lucas, please. Quiet, buddy.
50,000, Lewis.
Lucas and his best friend Lucas are kicking up a storm in the house. And if I have to tell them one more time to keep it down, I know you tweeted this morning, Lewis, that hitting your child makes you a bully. But if they don't shut the fuck up,
beat both of their asses. Yeah, how many Lucases? How many 7-year-old Lucases do you think you can fight at the same time?
Lucas's dad is called Anderson Silva.
No, it's not.
I swear to God. Next door is Lucas. He's called Anderson Silva. Can you? He's the Brazilian family. Can you believe that? It's funny. We have a son called Lucas, both the same age. No, they're great. They're the nicest people ever. The nicest. Yeah. They really are. They're fantastic. I couldn't believe it. Their son called Lucas. All right, okay. The Brazilian. All right, okay. He's called Anderson Silva. I'm like, all right. There's definitely similarities here. Anyway, where were we? Because they were being very loud. Just being 8-year-old kids, and that's fine. Enjoy it, but respect the podcast, respect the believers, respect the process. Lewis, refresh me where we were. We were talking about UFC 1, and I was saying the thing is, it's a different time. It's a different beast. There's more money involved. Everyone deserves to be paid what they are worth, you know, and maybe I don't know. It's a tricky one for Diaz. You know, he needs to fight. He's a fighter, and he's not fighting. That's what it boils down to. Whether I don't know what the number is. I don't know what he gets paid. I don't know what he's looking for. But he's a fighter, and he should fight because that's what he does.
He asked the UFC to release him from his contract, and I think it was half joking, maybe half not. You know, look, maybe for Nate Diaz.
Why? Because what was his logic there?
If Nate was, I mean, maybe his thing is he goes and fights outside of the UFC. They'll pay him. You know, look, I mean, Bellator would pay him millions and millions of dollars. Am I right? They would.
No, hold on. What was the catalyst for Diaz saying, right, okay, let me out of my contract? Because last I heard, he was fighting at Madison Square Garden against Dustin Poirier. Everything was hunky-dory. He went to a press conference, signed a contract, and now all of a sudden, let me have a contract. What? Because your opponent got injured in a fight? That's not the UFC's fault. I'm not being a UFC shill. Everybody knows, and Diaz should know. Everyone knows. The training camps are so strenuous. You put yourself through it. Poirier's injured. He respects Diaz as an opponent. I was like, fuck, I don't want to step in there with him when I'm injured like this. I'm going to lose the fight. So he called the UFC and said, unfortunately, regrettably, I've got to withdraw for an undisclosed injury, which I don't like. I don't like when people do that. Just tell us what the injury is. You know, love Dustin Poirier, but come on, bud. You know,
or conspiracy theory. You know, now USADA does not let people know. It's completely closed until they come up with a ruling. So maybe it's an undisclosed injury for another reason.
Oh, hold on, Lewis. Can you just say that in one soundbite? Because you can say it. I'm not saying it. But are you saying
Dustin Poirier is on steroids? They're all on steroids.
Dustin Poirier got pulled from the UFC 230 Madison Square Garden card because he failed the steroid test? Question mark. Question mark.
I'm not saying that the earth is flat or the earth is round.
If any websites use that, you have to put the question mark. That was a question. But they won't. It'll be a statement. Yeah. It'll be an exclamation mark. Anyway, we're joking. But you're right. If you want to be a conspiracy theorist, that is a possibility.
This is the new way, you know, undisclosed. It has, I have no idea. Has Dustin ever been even suspected of doing anything like that? No, right?
Nah. Dustin's an old school type of guy. He's not out there taking steroids. But yeah. All right. Anyway, Diaz. There you go. What are you going to do?
So
Diaz will Diaz.
Yeah, it's Nick too, though. I feel like Nate looks up to his brother almost too much because he seems like to be emulating what Nick does and sort of just not, you know, like I said, the best thing, he's sort of dangling himself as a carrot. I dated chicks that are like this. My ex was always like this. She was like, you know what? You just don't deserve me. I deserve better than this. I'm like, bitch, what do you think you are? I don't deserve you? Out of your fucking mind?
She was probably right.
She's 100% right, but she doesn't say that. If a dude said that, imagine you said, "You don't deserve me. I'm a princess. Get the fuck out of here." Sorry.
What about a prince?
I have no bitterness.
What about a prince? I wouldn't say I'm a princess.
I want to be treated like a princess.
You don't deserve me. I'm a prince. All right, guys, let's take a quick second to hear from one of our loyal advertisers, AutoSlash. AutoSlash is the #1 site for getting a great deal on a car rental. They figure out the best coupons and discount codes to get you the lowest rate possible, and then they track the prices on your rental right until the day you pick up the car. That's the magic of AutoSlash. Car rental prices fluctuate constantly, and AutoSlash nabs them when they're down so that you rent the car at the lowest rate. Renters on average save 30% or more when using AutoSlash. AutoSlash has saved customers millions of dollars on car rentals.
Yeah, I'm using them right now. I'm in Tampa right now, and we rent all the time. And I've spent so much money on renting cars, and it fluctuates everywhere you go. Every different city, it really fluctuates a ton, especially if you travel. You know this. They search all the companies like Avis, Hertz, Thrifty, all the major ones. They also, not only that, they search for all the coupons and online deals that you could possibly get. So instead of having an assistant sift through everything you could possibly get through online to try to find you the best deal, they do it for you. You get the best rate. And here's the coolest part of all is once you actually book, you can continue to track for the best rate. If a better rate becomes available, you could cancel and rebook super simply. Really, really easy. Autoslash.com. I'm going to tell you right now, I will never rent from another place again. It's the cheapest and easiest way to do it.
Yep, 100% totally agree. So listen, guys, if you need to rent a car and you want to pay the lowest amount, which of course you do, everyone wants a deal, go to autoslash.com. They got great prices on the car rentals, guaranteed best prices, autoslash.com. All right.